What is up, fishing family? It's your boy Luis, or that boy Segoy on the gram. Today, I'm gonna be talking about 2 rods I do not leave the house without, and just a couple techniques that I throw on those. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Hookup Tackle.
Oh, what a stud.
Yeah. Look at that.
That was sick.
Cheers, my friends. Happy Sunday.
All right, guys, some breaking news.
What's new this week at the Hookup Tackle?
What a beautiful coastal fish.
Look at that.
Look at that cut on that. That's a nice fish.
And the first rod I'm gonna be talking about today is the Power Nose by Ray Japan. That bad boy. And this tops out at like 14 grams. So that weight rating is pretty wide for like a lot of the finesse applications I do. Pretty much could throw like anything that I typically want to throw on spinning gear on this rod. Besides like really small stuff, because the power is there in the Power Nose, right? So one of the ones we're all familiar with, and everybody at the shop throws, is the free rig. All right, so for the free rig, one of the baits that I'm almost always throwing is the Gimmy. This guy here from Bottom Up. Talked about this before. Just a very diverse bait, right? Even not just how I'm throwing it on the free rig. I'm just rigging that pretty simple. I like the shot free. This one's pretty cheap, so go through these a lot. So, you know, it's kind of a easy choice there. And I like these long throat Ryugis. Just fishing around a lot of cover. I feel like that little neck helps hold the bait pretty good on pins your plastic really well, basically. So that guy I almost lives on that rod. I almost need 2 of these rods so I can just have another technique tied on, right? Throwing that guy a lot. Lakes, rivers, pretty much anywhere. Just upsize your weight, right, if you're going to be throwing in current or deeper water. Typically I don't go above 7. That 5 and 7 gram I feel like is that perfect amount where you can still get it out there pretty good, but then a lot of these baits have some kind of a vibration, right? You're getting that feedback. So I feel like once you go over 9 in a lot of these baits, I'm not feeling the response, right? Like I know I'm lifting, but I'm not getting a brr, brr, and a lot of times I'm using that to, like, I'll feel that brr, and then it'll just stop. I know it got bit, right? So I'm not, like, the heavier weight you go, obviously, you know, you get less, you know, it's telling you less, right? So like I said, that's kind of something I just fish all around, right? Now when I'm gonna go into some thicker stuff, I like throwing the backlight a lot, and lately I've been throwing the Bukkomi craw. That's this guy here from Ray Japan. I like the regular size. Daddy size is cool too. Just this is typically like what the fish are eating, a little bit smaller. So I have that guy rigged up on a 6-aught Pierce. I like that guy because it kind of takes the whole bait, right? The whole plastic is taken up. A lot of these like smaller extra wide gaps or stuff, the bait's kind of just sitting in the back. And then you just have a smaller hook, right? I want like the biggest hook I can get away with because I'm not throwing like super light line. Majority of these things is like 8 to 12 I'm typically running on this rod. So I want to have that power, you know, to be able to pull them out and stuff. So that little bit bigger hook is nice too, because when I place a weight, if I decide to, right, I can put it pretty far forward and This bait in particular, like a lot of backglide baits, I don't even add any weight to, but this bait falls very slow. So most of the time, I don't feel like I need to speed it up, but this one has a long hang time, so if I'm ever punching it into any deeper water, I definitely add some weight to it. And you could totally put a nail in it. That's how a lot of these guys, the raid guys, are doing. I have been just playing with something different just because I totally use a nail all the time. Like, that's how I normally do it. I just trying to learn something a little different, right? So these came into the shop not that long ago, and a lot of these way heavier than a lot of the nails that you have. So that was a easy way for me to add more weight than not just shoving like 2 or 3 nails in this guy, right? And this is lead, so it's a lot cheaper. I'm not like, if I'm ripping a plastic, the nail's not coming out with it. I'm pretty much, I'll catch fish or bump it around a lot, and I might have to just recrimp it on there, and that's pretty much it. But this thing, shoot, the only time I've lost it is with the hook, you know? So you get a lot of life out of that, definitely more than the nails and stuff. And then I kind of just put a stopper on there. Another thing I tried was just a little piece of shrink tubing so it has something to grab onto. And you don't really need both of those. One or the other is fine, but that was just, you know, kind of me playing around, and both of them held really good. So also another thing I'm doing is kind of trimming these legs down. Just makes less resistance on the bait. The only 2 I'm leaving are these 2 to kind of keep it like swimming flat, you know, leveled out. Another bait I've been playing around a lot with has been the Flip Gill by Nories. And you know why I wanted to play with this, right? Everybody has had their eyes on this thing since our boy Taku won with it, right? Everybody's asking questions, everybody wants to know how to rig it. So I went out and figured it out, right? So he was rigging it like kind of a wacky, or I'm sorry, like a Neko, and he had some kind of an insert. We didn't have anything like that, so I kind of just started thinking and looking at stuff at the shop. I kind of just looked at this guy, and I was kind of like, I wonder if I can tweak it a little bit or bend it out. And sure enough, this is how it comes, like this. That guy there, pretty little piece of metal there, and I just tweaked it up into this, kind of folded it into that. So I put it in like this little bit sticking out in the middle there, and that just kind of lets these 2 end pieces where the line would normally run through, these kind of keep that metal piece from sliding through the bait. And then this is just tall enough to make it through the bait, and then I just kind of poke it through. You got your little bit of a spot to run your hook through there, and I don't run a stop or anything. The plastic up against the hook is usually enough to just keep it pinned in there, and you can just throw it like that, or add the nail weight to it and throw it Neko. This bait's pretty cool. I've been playing with it, and it does a little bit more than, you know, what we first thought. So Neko, obviously, right, you know, you're just kind of working it along. It's got these appendages, it just kind of twist on the way down. But I actually caught a fish, and I lost the weight on it, and I didn't realize this until I threw it back in the water, and I'm like looking at the action, and it was doing some different things. So throwing it weightless like this, it just kind of would fall, you know, weightless plastic, kind of like spiral, a little bit of a glide, right? Cool. What was really interesting to me is when I had it pinned like this and I gave it a lift, the bait actually flipped like this, and the hook stayed underneath, and that bait would glide for a long way. And this is actually one of the better gliding baits I've played with this year. So that was actually like a complete surprise to me. So I've also like never back glided with anything but like a EWG or like a twist lock, so kind of didn't even expect that action out of this bait. So that was really cool, and I could totally see like skipping this under some docks and letting it glide back, or like just in some cover, and that's something I haven't even really got to to do yet because I've just been catching them on Neko. So typically I run those with Heavy Guard Pierce or the Sniper Finesse weedless. I run a weed guard on pretty much all that Neko stuff because just I'm always throwing around cover and whatnot, so I want to keep it as weedless as possible. So those 3 baits are like my go-tos right now. I'm always throwing those on that power nose. Pretty much one of those is tied on at all times. I do plenty of other stuff with it. Those are just like the bread and butter of that rod. So I'm gonna move over to the casting setup and show you kind of what I'm doing with that one. Move over to the Diffuser, also by Ray Japan. And I've talked about this rod a couple times before. I love throwing like a bladed jig, any of that bigger top water, smaller swim baits, little glides. Super, super diverse rod. Even like a square bill or like, I don't know, just, I'm always finding new things I can throw on this rod. All like super, super, probably even more so than the power nose. Like one rod, I'd probably be leaving the house with this guy here. Then I just got that paired with Steez A. All right, let's start on top. All right, so I like throwing a lot of these bigger top waters, and one came into the shop not that long ago. It's called the Long Zapper. This was made by BP Baits, this guy here. And it was kind of more just like, if I could take something this big and ridiculous out and get it bit. But again, sometimes like those weirder things like actually produce really good. And I got this thing chewed. You can see it's got teeth marks all over it. I just missed a lot of fish with the stock hooks on there. It comes with some twin hooks. I don't think I would ever throw a bait with twin hooks on there. So I upgraded them to these trebles. These are the Stinger ST35s in a 2/0. Needed a really big, wide hook for that front one. And a lot of times I'm sizing hooks for these bigger top waters, and I'm kind of like, man, that looks way too big. But I always think of the Evoke Zero and how big that quad is on the front of that thing, and that sticks them every time pretty much. So moving to this one, I was like, well, let's see if this is too big at first, and it was not. I was looking every fish that was eating it after I made that adjustment. And you're probably just thinking like it's another one of these plopping baits. One thing I really like about this is a couple of these times I would cast it into a pocket where I knew there was a fish in there, and this big huge prop being in front of the bait really let me, like when it entered the water, I could just barely start to get it going, like, and then kind of as it was clearing that little pocket or whatever, I'd kind of speed it up. And sometimes just that real quiet entry with that blade just starting up was enough to get him to bite, and sometimes that like little bit of a speed up was getting him to come out and hit it from the side or whatever. And there's a really sick clip I got in there actually that another dope thing about this is this front prop lets you throw it a lot more dangerously. Like I was throwing this around trees and stuff, and I'm able to lift it over a lot of this laydown more so than something that's got the prop behind it. So this is kind of letting me get away with throwing it a little more dangerously, which was definitely leading to some bites for me. One of those bites, I pulled it over a log, and you can see the fish just missed it, and as soon as it hopped it over the log, he comes up and smokes it as soon as it starts getting spun right on the other side. It was so sick. That was kind of like what I've been playing with on the surface, right? And then kind of moving down, this one I've been playing with since we've gotten it. Big fan of the G-Dash by Ray Japan. And that guy, same thing, threw some quads on there. I think I got a 3 in the front, the Ryugi Pierce, and 4 in the back. And kind of just use those. It's one of those like a little more oddly shaped baits, right? And then just kind of to weight it down a little bit because it floats pretty high, right? Doesn't come down very much. Kind of wants to come like rise right back up. So I did that, and then I just put a little weight strip on there, and I kind of like to leave it right where the bait would just pretty much like slow, like the slowest possible sink, right? At just barely going down. And then like if I go throw it in some current or like just throwing it some deeper water, or I just need to work it a little lower, then I'll take one of these guys here. Any other quick change weights, honestly, like we have sometimes the grenade ones, or this is just what we have right now. And this kind of allows me to, like, I'm not ruining my tune for this bait, right? Like I just want to fish it a little deeper, or a little faster, or some current real quick, then pop it on, fish it, then I move to my next spot. Maybe it's not like that, you know, I could pop it off, and just kind of lets you adapt the bait to like how your approach is. I like this bait a lot in current. Looks really amazing in current. Just those like joints get just, you know, almost no input, right? And that bait just looks so lifelike as the water's kind of pushing it through. And then last but not least, been sticking some giants on this, guys. As any kind of combination of this, I've gone up and down in size, right? The Hira Tailor and some kind of a bladed jig. I like the brake blade by Jackal. We've given that away a couple times in our bento boxes and other boxes and stuff like that. Specifically, I like this one just because the little bit longer jig hairs, right? So it kind of just fits that whole trailer size. So when this bait's moving through the water, it's just got a lot of life and, you know, action to it. First time I took it out, I was getting bites, but I missed a couple, so I definitely recommend the trailer hook on there. And this is something I throw when I'm wanting to draw that bigger bite. A lot of these like urban places, this is a really good bait for something like that. Caught some big ones out of like some ponds and stuff. Just like I think that gill bait too, that gill profile is just not something they're always seeing, right? You see a lot of like just a paddle tail, swim bait, fluke, like worm, right? Just seeing that flat worm come through and it's low, it's pretty slow, it has a lot of resistance, a lot of presence in the water. You're drawing these bigger fish out and they're coming to look for this thing. And trailer hook, I like the Ryugi, but you could pretty much use whichever one. Just probably like a size 2/0 at least. That's probably what I would go with. Those are some baits that I've been chucking around on that diffuser. I always like I said, I'm always taking that rod with me. This year I've been fishing a lot more power stuff, and probably like that rod is kind of to blame because it's just such a fun rod to fish. I can't say enough good things about that rod. Everybody here that's fished it has liked it too, so you just got to try it for yourself. I feel it. That kind of wraps up the video. There's my 1-2 punch spinning, casting setups that I don't leave without, pretty more or less, you know. And some baits I throw on both of those. Those are always in rotation for me. I always have a lot of success with those, so I think you guys will totally find something that works for you. And thanks so much for watching. Jeff's gonna leave everything linked down here in the description, and have a good one.